I'm curious how you think about data governance connected to these AI regulations that are coming to the fore. So we saw, the EU AI Act, um, you know, become real in this summer in California. Gavin Newsom is doing some great things around, on the legal side of AI governance. And so how much should be proactive on that from a data governance standpoint, and how much do you think is reactive, since some of that is, from a US perspective being formulated, but from an outside US perspective further along?
My sense is this is regulation has a very, very key role. And I've worked with regulations being in risk management and in the data space for at least the better part of my 10 to 12 years. I've constantly worked with regulators, both in the US and in UK, and also in some of the Scandinavian countries. A lot of people always, the general understanding on the ground is regulation follows the technology, which is largely true. But what where I see this is regulation also has an outsized influence in adoption of technology in the negative sense, and that's what I worry about. When I say that, I'm being very forthright and also thoughtful about it. This is not anybody's fault per se, but this is the nature of the beast, right? If the regulation in this space is going to take definitely a few years to evolve. It's going to start with regulation around what the foundation models should do, how the larger players should to come for, what the utilitarian use cases of AI for society are, and then it's going to come to corporations, financial institutions, so on and so forth. So for the next 2 to 3 years, any individual or groups working in this space cannot and should not rely on any kind of stable, well understood and set in stone regulatory landscape. The regulatory landscape is going to have to evolve, and people and the practitioners have to walk into use cases assuming that these changes could come into them. And that in itself could discourage some folks to say, let me wait until the regulatory framework is fully established. Then people are going to probably miss the bus, right?
And it's too late.
Right.
Exactly.
On the other hand, you do need good amount of regulatory planning, and this is where I think companies have to go back to their founding principles, to their own internal values, as to what their larger objective is as an organization. Right? If a large bank's purpose is to provide a stable economic financial infrastructure for the country and for the community, they should use that as their foundational principle to drive their AI ethics, but they cannot wait for a California law or a European law to strongly opine on one area versus the other, because that's going to change and evolve over a period of time. The legal liabilities of corporations will also have to go and change, but you can still come up with very foundational frameworks based on the mission statement of the organization, the founding principles of the organization, and the communities and the stakeholders that they serve, to provide and build an ethics and a governance foundation, irrespective of regulation. And as regulations come in, folks will have to react and adjust for a few years until this sort of settles down.
Right, completely. I mean, I'm in general a big fan of regulation, whether it's AI regulation or data regulation. And having said that, it all becomes very real when the regulator shows up on your doorstep.
Yeah, absolutely. As you and I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cancel my meetings. Right.